This is the new hybrid BMW M5, and we're going to find out whether it represents a new dawn for the super saloon or whether it's the death of it. So we're going to test this 727 horsepower heavyweight to some very specific tests. That is much quicker than was claimed. My goodness. Oh my God. But first, we need to address the elephant in the room, the weight. Because this new M5 plug-in hybrid has been body shamed all over the internet because it weighs 2.5 tons. That is the same weight as the old M5 plus a whole Caterham 620, or it's about the same weight as a Rolls-Royce Phantom, and that's a car with as many luxuries as Melania Trump's handbag.
But before we examine how the M5's heft affects its ride, handling and hybrid efficiency, first we're going to time its 0 to 60 sprint in 3 different ways, in a world first.
Now we're going to test how quickly this M5 plug-in hybrid accelerates from 0 to 60 miles per hour. BMW was claiming 3.5 seconds, so that's to 62. So since we're doing 60, it should be at least 3.5, if not a bit better. And we're also going to test how quickly it does the same test in rear-wheel drive mode, and then we're going to see whether it lets me do a 0 to 60 test in purely electric mode. And if you're into these kind of tests and you like stats, well, did you know that there is a free and very useful comparison tool in the Cinch app that you can kind of use like a top trumps, where you can compare not only the performance stats of cars like the acceleration stats, but also the miles per gallon and even boot space as well. It's built into the Cinch app, and the QR code on the screen is a quick way to download it. But first, why don't you see what this BMW does? Okay, so I've got the car in Sport Max. Let's see what it does in its sportiest all-wheel drive setting. Right, let's mash the pedals. Oh, that's violent. Oh, that is quick. 3.29 seconds. That is much quicker than was claimed. 3.5 they claimed, and it's done 3.29 on our first launch. Wow.
But that was with all 4 wheels powering us off the line. Now it's time to see how quick the M5 is when just its rears are doing the driving.
Okay, so to put it into 2-wheel drive mode, I have to turn off the DSC because the car won't let me put it into 2-wheel drive mode without me being completely on my own. So now we have 727 horsepower going through the rear wheels only, and I have to modulate that. Ooh, right, let's see what we can do. It's not going to be anywhere near as quick, but it should look pretty wild. Here we go, right. 4.37 seconds. The key is to put your foot down, but then short shift through the gears. Basically, you don't want to use all the torque and the power because it's just going to overcook the rear tires. Short shift it, keep the power down. That is quick. 4.37 seconds for a rear wheel drive car ain't too shabby. Okay, now we're going to test it in purely electric mode. So we've lost the V8 engine as our power source, or our main power source. And to do that is very easy. I just press the M hybrid button here and I press electric on the screen. It doesn't work on the touchscreen there. Let's do it on the iDrive controller. Now we're in electric mode. Let's see what we can do to 60. Right, mash both pedals. Starts the engine straight away. So what we're going to do is we're going to put it back into electric, and I'm going to not floor it, but just see how quick it is. Right, let's do it. Not very quick, actually. It's pretty slow. That's 90% power I'm doing, not full power. 10.76 seconds to 60 miles per hour in EV mode. So that's actually quite respectable. That's comparable with some electric family cars nowadays. But let's leave the V8 engine on, shall we?
Still, this 1000 Newton meters of torque super saloon is at its most ferocious when both engine and electric are working together. So much so that later in the day, I smashed my earlier record with a 3 seconds dead 0 to 60 time in a 2.5 ton car.
But of course, with a very big V8 engine and that electric tech, the acceleration is not actually a surprise. Really, I'm more concerned about this car's handling, not least because it's 2.5 ton weight and it's 5 metre length. So we've come onto one of the most fabulous roads in this part of the UK to chuck this M5 about. Now I've left it in the standard suspension setting just because I want to feel, does it feel heavy and overloaded? And amazingly, it doesn't. I don't really understand. Even over that big crest there, the car has fantastic body control. Yeah, there is roll, but it's absolutely keeping itself under control with no problems whatsoever. So let me put it into the stiffer mode and see whether that makes it really firm. Now we're in Sport Plus for the chassis as well as for the powertrain, and yeah, it's definitely a little bit firmer, but still the car is managing the bumps of a very, very bumpy British B road. I think naturally though, the place you want to be on the road is in Sport, so let's give that a go. Definitely softer, really good body control. Let's chuck it in here. The body control is fabulous and it's super keen on the front end. I'm nowhere near the limit of the car's grip, but I can feel the steering is so quick, and then you can use the power to kick you through the corner. I don't know how they've done it. They've really made this ginormous and massive car so wonderfully manageable on a very narrow and very bumpy British B road. Now, you might be wondering, how much is a 2.5 ton super saloon with a twin turbo 4.4 litre V8 going to cost to run? Well, apparently not very much, according to BMW, because the brand reckons with the addition of a big plug-in hybrid setup, this M5 can do 177 miles per gallon. So, is this evidence of an engineering masterpiece, or is it looking good on the spec sheet, but in reality, it's just going to set your wallet on fire?
Well, not surprisingly, the only time I saw anything close to the M5's claimed 177 miles per gallon was when I was making full use of its electric range almost exclusively in town. But even if you drive in a more normal manner, in a mixed environment, our test showed that this 727 horsepower V8 monster can still achieve a respectable 31 miles per gallon in the real world. And of course, there's another key benefit of all this hybrid tech that's worth highlighting: tax.
Now, did you know that the M5, which starts from over £110,000, costs the same as a company car as a Ford Puma? Yeah, honestly, blew my mind as well. And I'm going to explain why, but first, I want to tell you about the no less surprising private car tax costs, because, well, I've got the data right here. Now, even though this car as it sits here is £130,000, if you were to buy it, the first year of tax would cost you, for its CO2 output, £110. That is only the second highest bracket in the UK. You can only go cheaper if you buy a full EV. And it gets a little bit more expensive, yes, when you add the luxury car tax, that's £425. But even with that on top, you're still cheaper altogether than the cost of a C63 plug-in hybrid from Mercedes. That's the category below, and yet it costs more overall just for CO2. And then it's even more when you add the luxury car tax. And then there is the company car tax. Because if you were to buy one of these, it would cost you £2,004 a year. That's £166 a month, which is only £6 a month more than a Puma ST line mild hybrid. That's a couple of flat whites a month more than a very normal Ford. Something's telling me that maybe the UK car tax system isn't quite as watertight as we think.
So it's ruddy quick, steers like a car half its weight, and it's genuinely good on paper. But this is a BMW family car, so it needs to live up to the super saloon brief at least as well as its iconic forebears.
In a plug-in hybrid super saloon, the brief is even tougher because it has to not only be easy and nice to live with, but it's also got to be convenient as well. And well, this M5, thanks to what I have to say is one of the nicest interiors I've sat in this year. Well, it's got everything you want, all the comfort and all of the M features you need to feel like you're in a special cabin, but yet it's still comfortable and it still looks fabulous. I mean, the carbon fiber, which is contrasted to this lovely white leather on the seats, and it's perforated too. And the tech as well, it just all adds to a car that feels every bit its value. But most importantly is because this is a hybrid car and a plug-in hybrid, the way the powertrain works also feels really high tech. Now, the V8 engine is very quiet in normal modes, and in fact it's off in a lot of the driving. And because this car will do 42 miles in purely electric mode, it means actually you can easily do your commute there and back without waking the engine. That's true for most people anyway. For me, I saw close to 40 and the car wasn't even fully charged. And you get some of the benefits of an electric car as well, like regen, or the braking system that helps you to slow the car down with just one pedal. Because if you turn up the regen to the maximum, honestly, unless you come into a complete stop, you can just lean into it and not really use the brakes, which is handy because this car has some very expensive carbon ceramics on it, which, by the way, are part of a 20 grand M Sport pack. We're going to see if it's worthwhile in a little bit. But generally speaking, this M5 with its reversing cameras that help you shrink its over 5 metre long length, and just generally the livability of this car is fantastic. So long as you can deal with a little bit of a fidgety ride. This is a proper M car though, so the adaptive suspension on it, which can be softened off, it's forgivable that it doesn't quite get to Rolls-Royce levels, but yeah, it's also always sporty. This engine and this gearbox are such a match. I mean, the noise of that V8 when you start to go for it, it's so quiet and so docile in the normal driving scenarios, and obviously the electric is really the dominant driving force at low speed, but as soon as you wake up that V8, my goodness, listen. It's so fast, like third, fourth, and then you're at the speed limit. It is so quick, this motor and this hybrid setup. It's like all of the muscle of an electric car with all of the drama and the building explosiveness of a turbocharged, twin turbocharged V8 engine. This is spectacular. Now, we've still got one more high performance road test to do, but before we do that, there's one I want to do parked right here, and that is our Bluetooth test, which tests how quickly the car's CarPlay fires up, and so my phone can connect and I can access Waze. BMW has set the bar very high with the 1 Series we tested recently.
That is quick. That's how you do a startup.
This is a lot more expensive, so I think it needs to be at least as good. So let's do it. Car's locked, phone's in my hand. Here we go. Right, I've opened the car. Get in, start the engine, throw that down. It's all firing up quite quick. Come on, waiting for the CarPlay button. Oh, that was fast. Time. That was quick.
The tech in this M5 is almost as quick as the car itself in a straight line and around corners, but there's still potentially one major issue related to the new M5's weight, and that's braking. Because in the next test, we're going to do an emergency stop.
So the claimed stopping distance from 70 miles per hour for this car is just over 45 meters. So from 60 mile an hour, we should have something close to 40 meters. So let's get up to 60. There's my traffic cone. Sit at 60. Right, here we are, 57, 58, 60. Right, here we go. Let's hit the brakes here. Oh my God. Whoa, that stops so fast.
Using my phone's Measure app, I could see the M5 went from 60 to 0 in under 30 meters.
28.34.
And here's a screen grab, complete with a bit of my finger to prove it.
This is so technically impressive. I am so astounded by this car's performance. So much so, in fact, that do I think the new dawn of the super saloon is going to spell the end of the category? Well, obviously no, I don't. I think this M5 plug-in hybrid is proof that these can be absolutely brilliant, both on paper and also out on the open road. And of course, don't forget, while this weighs 2.5 tons, electrified cars, plug-in hybrids and electric cars are going to get lighter as battery tech improves. And this category should get a lot more competitive, especially if AMG gets its act together and stops pursuing the plug-in hybrid 4-cylinder and sticks with its V8. Although, if you want a much lighter super saloon that does things that none of these cars can do, well, there is one that's 900 kilograms lighter, and it's the Alfa Romeo Giulia Quadrifoglio, and the evidence in this video proves why it is still an exceptional option.